Hey there, you're listening to the DMZ America podcast for Thursday, August 24th, 2023. Coming to you from the left, I am American editorial cartoonist Ted Rall.
And I am Southern American. Is that right? Yeah. Editorial cartoonist Scott Stantis coming to you from the right.
Which may be a different country not too long from now if things keep going the way
if present trends continue. No, it could. I mean, and you know what, Ted, I'm not sure a lot of Americans weren't just up in the North and the West would say good riddance.
I would. I mean, no offense, as long as you have a passport to come and visit. It wouldn't be about you personally, but yeah, no, I think Abe Lincoln's big wrong idea was to think that the North and the South belonged together in one team. Like, no, like we don't have enough in common to get along as a country. We can't work it out. Donald Trump he was trying to counter program last night's first Republican debate. So he gave that interview with Tucker Carlson, and apparently, which I haven't not yet had a chance to watch, but I read about it. And apparently he said that he believes there's a strong chance there will be a civil conflict in this country. And I don't think that he's wrong.
Well, he's driving it. I mean, come on. I mean,
that's true.
Now, I mean, is it the imbeciles against the effete, or what? How does this break down? I mean, seriously. I mean,
well, there are different types of morons, right?
Yeah.
There's the anti-intellectual populist morons of the flyover lands, and then there's the elite, effete, woke morons who think that they know everything when they most certainly do not, and don't understand the fact that they have to live with other people and who don't think exactly the way that they do. So they're different tribes of morons. We have common ground. If we can just understand that it's not the type of stupidity that matters, it's just that we're all stupid. That's what makes America great.
Embrace the moron. Just that's all we're saying, is that one moron, e pluribus moron. out of many.
So, Scott Stantis, did you happen to see the debate last night?
I saw many chunks of it. I did not watch it live. I was out doing other stuff.
Well, many people might say that it was dead, especially if you were tuned in during the Asa Hutchinson or Doug Burgum sections.
Well, yeah. Let's start the discussion of the debate by can we just put those two aside and pretend they weren't there?
Yeah, because basically they weren't, and there's no reason for them to be running, and they just confirmed that perspective last night. So let's just take the candidates one at a time, and we'll assess about what they did right, what they did wrong, and where they go from here. So, okay. Scott, let's talk about Rick Scott.
Rick Scott was a huge disappointment. I really thought this was the opportunity. This guy has impressed you and I, regardless of our politics, before. And we thought, okay, this is going to be his opportunity to really show his stuff. And he didn't. And I'm wondering, I have to believe that part of that was nerves. I mean, that's a big stage, even though it's a little candidates, but it's a big stage. And I thought his performance was a D, maybe a C minus. It was just so uninspired. He could have stepped it up and did not. He is certainly not my breakout, or there really wasn't a breakout, to be honest, but there were two of the candidates who I thought did themselves a favor.
Well, we'll get to that. Okay. I agree with you about Rick. He came off as a nice enough fellow, but Americans don't vote for a nice enough fellow to be president of the United States, especially when they've already made up their mind, which Republicans have. I mean, Trump is polling 60% in the Republican primaries. Of course, he's going to be the nominee unless he dies. Maybe even if he does die. Maybe he'll go to 70% as a dead man. I thought Rick Scott was running for vice president, perhaps, and I was surprised at what an uninspiring speaker he was. There were a few people noted that he had some preacher-like cadences and hand gestures, which to me struck me as mildly racist observations, because people always say that whenever the person involved is black. They said it about Jesse Jackson. They said it about Al Sharpton. Well, Al Sharpton is a preacher, but they said it about Obama. And,
Yeah.
I always kind of like, yeah, Rick Scott, not so great. Fellow South Carolinian, of course. What's her name?
Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley. What did you think?
She was one of my breakout candidates in a weird way. You touched on it a second ago. These guys were all running for vice president. Okay. They're all positioning themselves for that because none of them have to, unless they're delusional, which is entirely possible.
But you, Asa Hutchinson.
Yeah, exactly. But I think
Mike Pence. Mike Pence is not running for vice president.
No, but let's get back. We'll get to Pence. We'll get to Pence.
Neither is Chris Christie.
Yeah, Christie's definitely not. But we're talking about Nikki Haley here, and I thought that she positioned herself as a general candidate, general election candidate, and did quite well. Unfortunately, she's not the nominee. I have always been impressed with her. I've always thought that
you're a fan. You've been on Team Nikki for a long time.
Yeah, I think she would have been
as someone to watch, up and comer.
Yes, and if she's named the vice presidential nominee, then I think that will be speak well for the future of the Republican Party. I don't think she's going to be it after last night. I have definite feelings about that. But Nikki Haley, I give
I agree with you, but I want to hear why not.
Why she's not going to be the VP? Because she hasn't taken the knee to Trump, and that's
right. Trump
he's going to demand that.
He will not let the comment pass when she said that Trump cannot win a general election. That was
right. Yeah, no, it's over. She won't, and so she's maybe positioning herself for 2028, and I think she's done a good job. She appealed to me, and Ted, bear with me. Some of this is just based on my political experience, but much of it is based on my own personal prejudices, as you know. And I tend to be more moderate in terms of candidates and successful candidates in the fall. She would be, if she was running and was a serious contender for the nomination, I would say she'd be the one that I would support as a Republican, because she would be the most likely to get traction with independents and some conservative Democrats in the fall, but that's not going to happen.
But you become very skeptical of the neoconservative outlook, and she's definitely an unreconstructed neocon. She hasn't met a war she doesn't like. She's talking about war with China. She's talking, which would be, a bad idea. She's very, very much on Team Ukraine.
Well, they all were, by the way. Most of them, weren't they?
No, well, not Ramaswamy, who we will get to.
Yes.
But not DeSantis either. DeSantis said that he would not send more money to Ukraine.
But he said he'd send troops to Mexico. He'd invade Mexico. He's down with that.
That's right. I gotta say, this isn't the GOP primaries. There's kind of like, it's not my party, you know what I mean? In every way, shape, or form of that word. So therefore, don't take Ted Rall too seriously about this. I think she might be better as a general election candidate than as a Republican primary candidate. But ironically, the reason that that's true is why I don't like her. I think she's too much of a militarist, and I think she's also not that bright. She uses phrases and words that are, she came off as inarticulate. Like, for example, she repeated the phrase on abortion rights about, we mustn't demonize the issue. You can't demonize an issue. You can only demonize people or groups of people.
No.
And it's like you're an educated person. You should know how to use the English language. You're an ambassador to the United Nations. You should be able to speak English. You can't.
Okay,
Sorry.
this is this is a child of a teacher speaking.
Yes, true.
So I think most of us knew exactly what she was saying.
I knew what she was saying. I just thought she was.
Frankly, I think when she stood up there and talked about abortion, said that we've got to surely we can compromise on these issues. I thought that was almost came
she
close
didn't close
to
the deal there, though, Scott. She didn't say like. I mean, I thought she was on the right track. I'll tell you, her shining moment is when she said that we have that both parties tax and spend too much. Like truth telling, she was out of the gate strong. Yeah. I was like, whoa, look at her. But then she goes to abortion, and she could have bookended that, and she didn't. When she said like, well, you know, she implied that like it's basically she was like, kick it back to the states. But what she should have said is, while I personally am pro-life, I recognize that we live in a diverse country with and each and different and like we're not going to get the people in New York State, for example, to be okay with the with reducing abortion rights to the same extent as people in Louisiana. So therefore, it's okay for there to be different standards in different states, and Republicans who value states' rights should be into that. She had an opportunity and she didn't close the deal.
Okay, so who's next?
Okay, so let's go to Mr. Christie from New Jersey.
Okay, we don't have to say he's a punchline. He's there to poke holes and punch at, especially I think many of us were disappointed that Donald Trump was not there. But when he was, you know, he poked DeSantis, he poked Pence, and that's going to be his job throughout. He's not going to be the nominee of the Republican Party.
He won't be the nominee. But I felt like he didn't have any reason to be there because with Trump not there, he showed up at the bike racks to beat up Trump after school, and Trump didn't show, so he's just sitting there twiddling his thumbs, and that was it, right? I mean, and then he was reduced to his prepackaged. It's interesting, by the way. I would say this is one of the very first debates where the idea of prepackaged sound bites being a bad thing is like now way out in the open. I think it's because of the internet. I mean, it's just sort of like, and I know that Christie had that Chat GPT line about Ramaswamy completely just waiting there. And and I thought it was a little bit cheesy. Now that said, I think if I had to vote for someone who's just on voice alone, I'd be willing to hear for 4 to 8 years. It would be Chris Christie. I love his voice. I like the way he talks. I think I'd love to hang out with that guy. He's smart. He plays dumb. I thought he was low energy last night. I don't think anything to do.
Okay, agreed. Yeah, I was a lost opportunity.
Move. Okay.
I love that. Yeah, he was the bully waiting for Trump, the fat kid to show up, and he never did. The fat kid waiting for the fat kid.
Fat versus fat. Vivek Ramaswamy.
That is my second choice for breakout performance. He did, and he will be the vice presidential nominee. A, because Trump has mentioned him in the past on more than one occasion in that role.
He balances the ticket.
He balances the ticket-ish, but he also, ethnically he does.
Demographic.
He also
not ideologically.
What do you mean?
Well, in other words, he doesn't come from a different wing of the party the way that Pence did.
No. He was definitely just carping Trump better than Trump did. He articulated the Trump years, and I think framed them in a way that was really very smart and very compelling. He's going to be as I handicap the vice presidential race, he's in first. He's a 2-1 favorite in my view.
Now, I would say Ramaswamy is going to get an 8-point bump from this. That's my prediction from this debate. I don't know if it sticks or not, but this is the first time. This was his coming out party, and most voters are going to like what they saw. They saw perhaps a little spazzy, high,
little high energy
type dude, little high energy, kind of short little guy. But, I have never seen anyone having so much fun on a debate stage. He was so happy to be there. He was loving every minute, including the parts where the other candidates were yelling at him. He did seem to be back on his heels when the audience wasn't with him at points. And he seemed kind of upset about it. in a way that the more experienced candidates were not. But I think he brings in the youth vote. He shows sort of a future to the party. I will also say the impression I got was this is a guy who's running for president as his side hustle from his businesses that he's running. Because, like, for example, at one point he was asked about energy, and he said it's very simple. We're gonna burn coal. We're gonna drill oil. We're gonna go nuclear. And I was thinking that could have dovetailed really nicely with how he said that he wanted good relations with Russia and would not send any money to Ukraine. He could have said, speaking of energy, one of the reasons our prices are so high is because of our sanctions against Russia, which is a major oil and gas producer. And now they're selling all their oil and gas to India. I'll get on the phone with Putin and we'll get these prices down. That would have been consistent, a holistic message. And I just felt like he didn't put it all together. I feel like he was like sort of he's a smart guy, and like a lot of smart guys, they think they can half-ass everything. It's like, not when you're running for president of the United States.
Well, and I need to stop the presses here for just a second for full disclosure in that Ted and I have both cashed checks from Vivek.
That's true.
Just to be fair, he underwrote Counterpoint, which I'm no longer a part of, but Ted is. And as a newsletter for editorial cartooning. And
we ever heard from him or anything.
I did. I told you that. He liked one of my cartoons.
Well, he didn't like mine. Well, we know why. Look, but
now he agrees with you on Russia.
Like my cartoons, but whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So
Vivek I think Vivek honestly is going to get a much bigger bump than Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley, if she had just refrained from that comment about Trump not being viable in the general, might have been the Veep for Trump, but now that's Vivek. I agree with that. And then Mike Pence.
Sorry, he still makes me giggle. Ted, here's the thing.
Why is he running? What
else has he got to do? He's got to hang out with mommy. I mean, that's the choice. Let me ask you this. If you and I had been, I was president, you were vice president, and there was, let's say an uprising to overturn an election, just saying. And you were in charge of overseeing that as virtually a ceremonial position. A mob, which was doing what I had just told them to do, was marching on the Capitol, and had built a gallows. And I am in the White House, and you heard, and I had said, if they hang Ted Rall, that'll just serve him right. How would you feel about me as a person?
As a person, as an eggplant, as a cat, I would have a strong dislike for you, Scott. Please don't take that the wrong way.
And Pence, I hate Michael Pence for the very reason that I hate Ted Cruz. During the primaries in 2016, when Donald Trump made fun of his wife, said his father was involved in the assassination of JFK, the next time I'd see him, I would have slugged him in the face. It wouldn't have been, I wouldn't have thought twice
about it. And you would have been right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No. So what do these guys do? They get down on their knees and they perform fellatio on this guy. And Pence is still doing it. He's trying to be clever. And there are times when he kind of comes at things sideways. But for the most part, I hate the fact that he is so weak that he cannot confront a man who thought it would be okay if he was dead.
And he's also not, even if he doesn't care for some reason, which would mean clearly there's something wrong with him, his self-preservation instinct. He should surely be smart enough, but he obviously isn't, to know that the voters expect him to care about this. He had two routes. He had two lanes, as they say, right? He could have either been like, I'm Trump's loyal lieutenant, no matter what, even if he kills me, I'm fine with that. Or he had to be like, fuck Donald Trump. He tried that fucking maniac tried to have me killed. And I'm out to fucking make sure he's never president again.
Yes, and I would support him.
Either one of those is the way to go.
I would have gone nuts. I would have loved it if he had done that and just say, fuck this guy. he wanted his own vice president dead. Fuck him.
Yeah.
I would have that would have been great. That's not what he's doing. He's boring. He is, just trying to plod along. Why is he running, Ted? I have no earthly idea. I don't think he does either.
No, I don't either. Yeah, maybe he'll sell some books or something. I can't imagine that's even true. I guess I think that what he came out of, though, he came out of it with a bit of historical vindication. I mean, he was up on that debate stage and he forced some leading contenders, some stars of the Republican Party, to say, you know what, we didn't say shit because we've been cowards since January 6th, but it's true. Mike Pence did his duty on January 6th. He did the right thing. And so, it's good that he wasn't killed, I guess. And I mean, it's kind of like it's about as much vindication. He got some vindication, a sizable amount of vindication. And frankly, that ain't nothing, but it's not going to move the polls for him.
No, not at all. Now
let's talk about the smelly dead elephant in the room, covered with giant flies and maggots. And of course, that's the former number 2.
What's that smell?
Candidate. That would be a Ron DeSantis.
Wah, wah.
Yes.
He tried to charm us. I don't know what he thought he was doing up there, because he's a multi-faceted candidate, and it's fascinating to watch. I mean, on the one hand, he's been a good, solid governor for Florida, one of the most populous states in the union, one of the most diverse. The
economy's not great, but that may or may not be his fault. Though his war with Disney was ill-advised, let's say.
His war with Disney, I think, was illegal. And also, ill-advised would be one word I would use. I would also say just batshit stupid. I mean, really stupid, because it flies in the face of conservatism, as most of us have come to understand it, which is not government interference in capital and business. And that because they bothered him.
Disney is such a colossus in Florida. I mean,
what did you heard about the lawsuit
that doesn't care about tourism?
And you heard about the lawsuit after things cooled down in the last couple of weeks ago. Apparently, he approached Disney and said, "Okay, let's just call it a draw and drop the lawsuit." And Disney said, "Fuck you, we're doubling down and we're going to sue you for even more." And they are, and they're going to win.
They are going to win. Yeah, they have in the South, they always say it has all the things. It's like Disney has all the lawyers.
Yeah. It also has, by virtue, it's also on the right side of this issue, and this right side of the lawsuit. And that you touch on the other side of DeSantis, and that's that where woke comes to die, which, no, we stopped, I mean,
how about DeSantis, where charisma goes to die, where likability goes to die. As the kids say, the Riz he does not have. I mean, I thought it was amazing. I mean, there were so many things to not like about his performance last night.
Yeah.
First of all, he gets the first question. Man, that is a gift from God. I mean, he earned it because he was at the top. He was at the top of the polls there. And so what does he do? Instead of answering the question, he goes with his canned speech that he had prepared. No, you can't do that. He never smiled.
No. Well, but have you seen him smile?
One moment where he bullied. I could almost see how he was when he was torturing at Guantanamo. When poor Brett Baer from Fox News had the temerity to ask all the candidates to hold up their hands and to say whether or not they would pardon Donald Trump. And he was like, I don't want to answer that question. And he's just like, I'm not playing that game. And he just started talking. And literally Brett Baer got steamrolled and never came back and insisted that they answer the question. And then, oh my God, Ron DeSantis's voice. It is so irritating. He is so queenie. There, I said it. He is, 94%. My gaydar is off the. It's like
you've said that before.
That guy is closeted. He has not seen his wife with clothes. I mean, there's no way. They sleep in different cities. I mean, it's like that dude is into dudes. And if he's not into dudes, he should be into dudes because he's really into dudes. Without, if he might not know he's into dudes, but he's into dudes. But he was so queeny and bitchy, and I can't imagine and he didn't crack any jokes. He had there were no light moments. Like Rick Scott had a light moment. They all, I mean, even Chris Christie, who was off, he knew how to smile a few times. They just couldn't. Mike Pence was like looser than Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. And it just confirmed to the nth degree what people think of people who don't like him. And that's a lot. It just confirmed what they thought about this guy, that he is unlikable. He's a bully. He's none too bright. And he's just mean, and
mean as shit.
Yeah.
And by the way, what's really interesting is that his polls, he was a very popular governor in Florida. His Florida polls have tanked since he launched this presidential campaign.
Yeah.
And he may not be able to run for re-election.
Well, can he run? I don't know what the laws are, and he can run for a third term,
but he may not be able to. It's that bad.
Wow. Well, don't forget when he ran and won the first term, he only won by like, what was it, 400 votes? It was a very, very tight election. He won by a ton this last time. But wow, no, that'd be fascinating.
I mean, what he needed to say also, it's just like Nikki Haley. I'm always frustrated when people aren't articulate, and it's not just the other side. Bernie Sanders, I always felt, had moments where he could never explain Medicare for all, for example. Like Bernie Sanders could never say, so yes, your taxes will go up, but only by a little bit, and the amount that you save on your medical expenses will be so big that you won't even feel the higher taxes. He just couldn't say that. And in the same way, I felt like last night there was a lot of that. Nikki Haley did it. And clearly it was the same thing with DeSantis. He wasn't able to articulate and say, I was a successful governor in Florida. He kept saying that. And I will do for the nation what I did for my state. That's the standard, governor running for president speech. I mean, you can't give that speech if you're Bill Clinton in 1992, but everyone else can give that speech. So it's just weird that he didn't know how to do it and say, I balanced our budget. I'll balance the national budget. I won't do dumb. He did talk a little bit about he would have fired Fauci. That was ugly though, because the image I got was like, I would bring Fauci into my office and say, you're fired. And I'm like, Fauci's a tiny little 82-year-old guy. And like you would yell at this 82-year-old guy.
DeSantis yelled at children. Do you remember that when he was showing up at some event and they were masked and he's like, get those things off your face.
Yeah.
He looked like he was within a fraction of an inch of literally slapping it off their faces.
I totally believe the Guantanamo inmates who said that they remembered him standing by and laughing while they were being force fed. I totally believe that.
Oh, you can totally see that.
Oh, he's a fucking maniac. I mean, he should just be in prison. He should be like in Minority Report, where you go to prison for future crimes. He's going to kill people. He's going to torture people. You just send him away before he does it.
Well, that whole, like you just touched on it when he's talked about bringing Fauci into the Oval Office. It's like, really? Shit, Trump just fires people on Twitter.
Yeah, it's so true. Or like while they're giving a speech. I forgot who he did that to. It was Comey. James Comey was given a speech, the FBI inspector, and he's like, everybody turns to the back of the room while he's talking, and there's like he's being fired on TV. It's like it reminded me of this Andy Singer cartoon. He's a colleague of ours who does a comic strip called No Exit, and it's like it's all about TV culture, and it's like a guy watching like one of those cop shows where like armed goon cops are breaking down someone's door and beating the shit with, and the guy's like, cool. And then like the scene comes, and it's his house, and he's still like, cool, like while he's being beaten up.
Yeah. This is, I mean, but none of these candidates came off as like, wow, I could see that person being my president. I would like that. When, they're giving
that's a good question. Yeah. I mean, who would be your least, if you had to, gun to your head, you have to pick one. I guess I'd go Tim Scott, maybe.
I'd say Nikki Haley.
What about the wars? I think she's I think she's a mad woman. I think she's Hillary Clinton with a tan.
Okay. Oh, I disagree. She actually did something when she was in a position of power. A, and B, no. She actually has some charisma.
But I'm talking about her politics. I mean, she would get. I don't want to have a nuclear war with China. Sorry.
Oh, God. Again,
over Taiwan, which the U.S. itself says is part of China.
Such a wuss, man. One little nuclear war and you just freak the fuck out just because they have a movie.
All right, so Nikki Haley, you're still on team Nikki. All right.
Yeah, I thought she did a good job.
Number two choice.
I guess, I mean, it's really, then it really falls off the shelf for me. Ramaswamy, I think Ramaswamy would be my second.
The thing is, I just can't imagine him. I mean, he's a tech bro. I just can't imagine him as president of the fucking United States. He'd have energy to spare, but I just don't think he has wisdom and calm.
Well, are we looking for that? That doesn't exist anymore. I mean, we have calm with Joe Biden, but that's because he's asleep.
The calm of the grave. All right, so let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about Donald Trump. We're in indictment watch number 4, edition number 4 out of 17. We will come back. Trump is about to surrender and get his first official mugshot. Keep it right here.